What's up YouTube, it's your boy El Gallo Negro. We're going to be doing a mid-fade today. Like always, you want to start out with your first guideline, which is the bald line. And what I do is I leave a little bit of the C cup. Just as you can see right there, I didn't go all the way to where his vertical bar is, with a slight dip towards the back, just to make sure we keep it a little dark. So I did use the FX3 shavers. I did keep it down below just for a little bit in case you're wondering what I am using. So what I did is bald him out almost to the top of that guideline. You want to stay a little below it. That way it's not that difficult to erase that bald line. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is debulk with the number 2 guard open. I never go all the way to the top, just so I could use clipper over comb or shear over comb to leave it a little bit darker and smoother. We're going to start with the lever open. I'm going to leave it a little bit darker towards the C cup so it does get wider towards the back, just because the back tends to be a lot darker than the sides, so you want to push it up a little bit higher. Like always, same process as always. It all just depends how you do it. If you go from top to bottom or bottom to top, you will be playing with your lever open, mid, close. All you really have to do is mess around with it. Make sure that you're staying consistent at the same levels. When that lever is midway, you want to hit it midway. When it's closed, you want to be right below mid, right in the beginning of it, using kind of a flick motion. That way you don't dig in too deep. Once again, the back of the head is a lot darker than the sides usually, so you want to take your time and mess with that lever. Make sure you get any lines out, just so the back doesn't leave with too much weight. Always be sure to brush your client's head and your clippers, because hairs do stay behind on the clipper and on the head. So you want to make sure that the surface you're working on is clear and smooth. Alright, so he did tell me that he didn't want to leave his C cups. He wanted to go a little higher than that. So all I did was just push it up, bald it out a little more towards that area, and then nothing much really changed but that. As you can see, there is no more C cup, and we will be working from there. Now we are using the half guard. You want to make your next guideline about the same length as you did the first, length, width, whatever you want to call it, whatever works for you. But make sure you stay consistent. You don't want to make your guidelines thicker than the other, and if you do that, your transition is gonna look off. The bottom's gonna look like it needs to be pushed up. There's a lot to cutting hair, and you have to remember that consistency is the best thing for your haircuts. The best haircut you can give is based off consistency. Alright, so while you watch what I'm doing right now, I would like to ask for some help. What I want to ask from whoever's watching is maybe throw out there some comments on what you would like to see, what you feel like I should do differently, things like that. Anything helps. I really want to expand. You're about midway of this haircut. It's coming together, as you can see right here. I'll basically work all the way up to the number 1, since the half guard open equals to the number 1. Here it's coming together. The transition, the blend is looking very nice, and all we have to do next is use our number 1 guard. After that, we will be using the 1.5, and then I will be topping it off with shears and clipper over comb, and we will be cutting some off the top. So as you can see right now, I am using the number 1 guard. Once again, do not make your guideline thicker than the other, because it will throw something off. I tend to stretch the skin just so I can make sure that I get in there and don't go over onto the next section, the next guideline. So I do stretch it using a little bit of flick. You can't really tell there, but I'm using it, not really digging in. Alright, so here I'm just going back and doing some detail work. I seen a couple lines. You just want to make sure you go back, take your time with your clients, make sure that they just leave out of there fresh. Alright, now we are at the 1.5 guard, and I do things differently. Once I get towards the top, I actually start from under that guideline with the lever closed, actually a little slight open, using a flick out motion, and then slowly opening the lever until I get to the top. But mainly you want to use flick just to keep it darker, ensuring that it stays nice and dark. Alright, once I feel like I've done the job with the guards, I pop out my clipper over comb, then use my finishing shears to get rid of that last guideline. Alright, so when you are using finishing shears, what you want to do is you want to glide the comb up, slight poking it towards you. If you dig too much, you could leave some light spots, even bald spots, and that's just not going to look right. Alright, so I did feel like that corner stayed a little bit dark, so I am going to be using my number 1.5 with flick, not really digging in too deep, like I said. Just going it over one more time just to make sure that it's a smooth blend. Alright, so once you get to the top, you want to make sure that that hair is nice and moist. And once you're doing the top hair, you want to start in the back, in the front, whatever you want to do actually. But always make sure that the back stays shorter than the front. The best way to compare doing the long hair, the top hair, is like doing a fade. You want to keep it nice and blended from the back towards the front. Make sure that the back is shorter to longer. So when you do with the hair, it tends to lay the way it naturally does. So I did have to go back and lighten up some areas. So now we're getting towards the lining, and he does request for me to push him up. That's not really something I like to do. I personally like to keep the lining natural, but he has like a higher side than the other. As you can see, the right side is a lot higher than the other, and he likes to even them out. That's just his preferences. I still started it pretty low, how I always like to do my linings, but I asked him and he told me to go higher, so that's what I did.